one.
Hello and welcome. This is the Roar Podcast live from the lovely Casanova College. As always, I am your host, Patrick Smith, and with me, as always, is my co-host, Kevin Ingram.
Yep, I'm here again. Episode 4. Let's go.
This one is entitled Springs in the Air. If you're outside, you might not notice that, but in here on the Roar, spring is definitely in the air because on today's schedule, we have a lot of stuff planned. We have, first of all, men's lacrosse. We're going to recap last season, preview this season, talk about both scrimmages. They played at OCC and then at Herkimer Community College. And we're going to also preview the games that are happening over spring break, which are in Clearwater, Florida. They're playing Marymount and Clark University. So then we're going to flip it over to Kevin, and he's going to talk about women's lacrosse. So what's coming up on today's show for women's lacrosse?
Well, for women's lacrosse, we will try and recap last season, preview this season, recap their game this past weekend against King's College, and preview games coming up over spring break, Pat.
So then we're going to go right into baseball. So what do you have for that?
Ooh, baseball, we're going to recap last season for them too, which is very interesting looking up. We're going to preview this season, what's possibly to come, and preview games occurring over spring break, which will be taking place down in Florida. They play nothing but doubleheaders against McDowell, Juniata, Penn State, Alton, Cairn University, and King's College. So baseball is going to be pretty busy.
Yeah, and then also during that same time, we're also going to talk about softball, who is playing their spring break in, I believe, North Carolina. It's part of a huge classic event down there with teams from all over the country. They're playing a team out of New Jersey, NJCU, Mount Aloysius, Anna Marie College, SUNY Canton, Summit University of Penn, King's College, Regis College, and finally Gwynedd Mercy University. So we're going to talk about all those, recap a little bit of last season, preview this season, and just kind of talk about everything spring related. We also have an interviewee that's going to come in here in a little bit. So if at any point in time during the show you see us cut away quick and start doing an interview, that's why. So we're going to try to fit him in wherever we can. So we're going to have a quick music break and then get started with men's lacrosse. So stick around. So welcome back to the Roar live on WITC 88.9. Our first guest actually just walked in, so we're going to have another short break to get him set up and then get right into the interview. So stay tuned. So welcome back, folks, to the Roar. We have our first guest and only guest in the studio with us. So can you first introduce yourself to the audience?
Good afternoon, Patrick. My name is Tim Williams, and I am the Interim Program Director for the Sport Management Program here at Casanova College.
So first of all, can you tell the audience a little bit about our major? Because a lot of people aren't sure exactly what sport management major is.
Well, a lot of people think that it's all related to traditional team sports and activities and other areas like that. But in reality, it's a management-based program that takes the application of the management world and applies it to the sporting world. It encompasses professional and team sports, but also individual sports, recreation, all of the areas and avenues of business, coaching, players, teams, and anything you could be associated with the entire industry, which is a very, very large industry.
Okay. So you touched on a little bit how a lot of the students are athletes. Does athletics play any role in the way you teach on the campus?
Well, athletics, to a certain extent, impacts it because many of the individuals that are going to go out working professionally will be in contact with athletes, so they need to understand the context of the program and how the athletes fit into it. But it's broader than just playing a particular sport, because athletics and sport management involves many of the business levels, and one of the largest segments of the population actually is the residential or the recreational sport. So the fitness clubs, the just one on the afternoon playing golf or tennis or any of those other areas is just as important as watching the NFL or the MLS in the world. And it encompasses a wide variety of activities and programs.
Okay. So, as the sport management interim director, one of your roles is to work with the athletic department to run game day events successfully. Can you tell us a little bit about that experience?
Well, one of the primary areas where most sport management individuals will get their jobs has to do with the operations side of putting on events, whether they be one-day events, long-term events, or any of the other kind of activities. You find out very quickly that athletes have a tendency to really know what the game is about, but they don't really understand the behind the scenes that have to occur to make that game actually happen. They don't think about the towels, they don't think about the chairs being set up, they don't think about the water, they don't think about the lines judges, they don't think about the referees, they don't think about any of that aspect of it. They just go show up and play. And
the little things.
The little things. Yeah. But the problem, and a lot of people don't realize that there is an athletic event in the world, whether you take it something as substantial as a Super Bowl or the World Cup, or something as small as the Chili race that is run in Casanova each year. Those events would not happen without an enormous number of volunteers. And so the sport management program, specifically in the area that you're talking about, event management and activities, really starts to help educate people on the importance of volunteering, not only in the sporting world, but in life in general. Because many things wouldn't occur if you didn't have that help. The organizations could not pay enough to get enough people to work those events if they didn't have people that were dedicated and wanted to do that. And
yeah,
that's what we try and do in the stuff up at the athletic complex.
Okay. So what kind of roles do they play in the game day? What kind of jobs do they typically do?
Well, they have statistician jobs that will happen. There's filming that occurs. There is the setup and the tear down. They have to run the clock and the books and all of the other aspects. And each activity is a little bit different because they're involves a different level of expertise, and the particular sport practicum class tries to give them a little bit of an educational background so that they understand more about what's going on in that arena, so that then they can translate that to other activities. Because events, as I said, events are what everybody looks for. That's what everybody is paying attention to. They don't pay attention to the practice. They don't pay attention to the day in, day out grind that happens. They want to understand better how you're going to operate those events that are on a weekly basis or several times a week basis or monthly or whatever.
Okay. So the other side of it is internship side. Do you feel that the athletic department does a good job in teaching some students lessons for the future in sport?
Well, I think that one of the things that the athletic department, with all the internships, and the nice thing about the sport management program, because it is a foundational program within the business management degree, there are 9 credits of internships that need to be completed, 3 in the business side and 6 in the sports side. And the 6 on the sports side can even be related to the business or communication or a variety of areas. But in the day-to-day world of sport and athletics, there are constantly there's a constant opportunity for the professionals to share their knowledge and experience with people coming up, so that they really understand what it's like to advertise and promote for an event, what it's like to actually do the webcam, what it's like to actually do the promotion to get students up and find out what some of the exciting things that can happen in the other operations outside of just the traditional running of the game. If you go to Division I athletics and you take the large Division I school in Syracuse and you look at the events that are going on there, there's all kinds of activities, and those athletes or those sport management students are learning a lot about that. We take that same philosophy here on the campus, and depending on what a student's interest would be, whether it's more in the statistician side, whether it's more on the game day management side, whether it's more on the communication and PR side, we try and work with the different professionals on campus and make that happen. We don't limit it to just those on campus, but try and also get that opportunity and that expertise off campus as well, so that they have an ability to work with Syracuse Silver Knights or the Sky Chiefs, or go back to their home area in their own home over the summer and work for their local minor league baseball team or golf course or wherever it is in terms of there. So it's a blend of both outside and inside experiences in terms of there. And also some other avenues. Some students go and do internships at much larger places, whether it be one for as an intern with the San Diego Chargers, or in the future working for some of the NHL teams, or a variety of other places as well.
Okay. Well, that's very great to hear. We like hearing people going out and going above and beyond in terms of internships. So to take a step back, this is your first time down on the Roar. What are your first thoughts when you come down here and listen to and become a part of the Roar?
Well, I think it's very exciting. Number one is because you started it. You guys started this, and one of the things that's nice about Cazenovia is if you come up to something and determine that there's a want, there's a mechanism in place to make it happen. And the nice thing about this is just as valuable of a learning experience in a sport broadcasting world, because these types of programs and shows are on all over the world. And it gives some very practical experience. It helps in an education process for the individuals that are listening to this broadcast, and we'll see the tapes on YouTube later on, is that it gives them a little bit different perception of some things on campus that they may not know, whether it's athletically or sport driven or any of the other guests that you've had come in. It helps people get a better understanding of what they're all about. And we all have a tendency, because we're so busy, we keep in our own little areas, and it's nice to get outside of those areas sometimes and learn a little bit more about other things that are going on campus.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we personally love doing the Roar. We love being able to give you guys, as the audience, an idea of what's going on for athletic-wise on this campus. And so now the question probably most of the audience wants to know, are you a big fan of Cazenovia Athletics?
Absolutely. Many people don't realize part of my background is in college coaching. I coach college men's and women's basketball and college volleyball. And I actually was a college volleyball coach here 16 years ago, and I was assistant women's basketball coach at that same time as well. So I am very much in favor and support all of the athletics and all of the area sports, whether they're on campus or out at the equestrian facility or at the various baseball fields around the area, and/or now hopefully the softball gets to move a little bit more on campus. But very important, not only just the athletes, but the people that support them. And the thing about the sport management program also is that it's not just athletes that are a part of that program. You don't have to be an athlete to be a sport management. And we have a nice program here in the sense that we have a good mixture of athletes from a wide variety of sports. And in addition to that, we have several students that are not not athletes here on campus, and/or there's other athletes in other disciplines that minor in sports. So it gives a good thing for people to keep up with their athletic interests from a wide variety of areas.
Okay. So to kind of wrap up here, what does the future look like for the sport management department?
Well, I think that it's a growing program. It's a growing field. Sport management in itself was something that started out of an educational need, that there were more and more and more recreational sporting activities, and professional and college athletics got bigger and bigger and bigger. And what that forced people to do is to put some academic structure to it, which was sport management. And as long as we keep doing the things that we've been doing with the program and expanding and giving the different types of opportunities out there for different students and giving them the realistic exposure to places like Belmont or the Mets or any of the other Cooperstown, which are all Watkins Glen, which are all trips that we're planning yet for this semester with various different groups, partially in class and partially in the sport management club. But it gives people the opportunity to do things that they want, and it makes it so that it continues to satisfy that need as well.
Okay. Well, we at the Roar thank you for coming in, taking time out of your schedule to come in and speak on our show and give the audience some insight into the background behind athletics, because we have a lot of athletes coming in to speak, and we like having the administrators and the teachers that help them out through their lives. So thank you again for coming in. We're going to have a quick break and then get you started with men's lacrosse. So stay tuned.
Super. Thank you.
Okay, so welcome back. That was a great interview that we had just with Tim Williams. If you guys aren't aware, he is the interim director of the sport management department, and also as actually my advisor too. So he helped. We actually went to him when we first started doing this to make sure this was an option to do a show based around just sports. So we like to thank him personally for coming in to speak to you guys.
Definitely. He gave like a lot of good insights to the sports management department. I myself am a criminal justice and homeland security major, so I really don't have no close connection to the sports management department except for through all of my friends and the athletes. So he definitely gave a lot of good insight to somebody who does not know the department, and I think after having him in, I can definitely see the department bigger than what I imagine it to be. And he's very good at touching on if there's a need, there's a way to make it happen. So.
Yeah, he definitely gave some good insight, and everything he talked about is basically what goes on in the sport management department, which is definitely why I picked that coming in, and why actually the Roar was started, because of how he's talked about going outside the box, thinking and doing things that aren't typically done. So that's how the Roar was born. So anyways, now back to the main gist of our show. This is our spring preview show. We're going to go through the four main sports that are still going on. Basketball is done. Swimming and diving is done. All the fall sports obviously are done. So now it's just the spring sports, and we're gearing up for a really good season out of each one of these. One of the things to look at now, we're going to put up a poll after this show on Twitter page that is going to talk about each one of these teams and trying to pick which one you guys feel is going to have the most successful season as a Wildcat. So if you want to get an idea, we'll go through everything, talk about each team fully, and then you can make the ultimate decision at the end, and we'll figure out after that. But now to start off with men's lacrosse, last season they went 8-6 with a 5-3 conference record overall. They were the 4th seed in playoffs, and they had to travel to Morrisville. That is the same Morrisville that's our rival, because they were the number 1 seed, and they lost 11-1. So not a good showing for them. I was actually at that game helping.
I was at that game.
You were too?
Yeah.
Yeah, not a good showing. So I think that right there gives them fire for this whole year to really step up and really make a change.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think it's also because they didn't go out. It wasn't a close game that game, so they didn't go out their best. So I think they're definitely wanting to come back, and especially against Morrisville. I mean, we always want to go against Morrisville, but they definitely want to come back as a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they definitely got that hunger in them. So now as we look at some of their team leaders last semester, Brandon Maxson had 50 points, 39 goals, and 11 assists on the season. Eric Hanover had 48 points, 42 goals, 6 assists. Kyle Kingsley had 40 points, 29 goals, and 11 assists. And Joe Delia had 62 points with only 11 goals and 51 assists. I'm pretty sure he broke the assist record last year, so we'll look for a repeat performance from him. So now looking at more of the personnel that they lost. They lost John Knickerbocker, Mike Helak, Jake Nash, and John Butlak, all to graduation. And then Kyle Ritchie, Jay Sean Van Loan, and Austin Tellez all transferred away. but I believe some of them might be back next year.
Yep. Hopefully, there's one of them in particular. Hopefully, they come back.
Yeah, Jay Sean is one of Kevin's personal good friends, so he's really looking to see him come back and wear the Wildcats colors.
Yeah, definitely. He was in the studio last week when we had Tati in here, but he didn't step up to the mic. But he also managed to hurt his ankle 5 minutes later, up at the field actually playing lacrosse with fellow Casanova College Wildcat Joe Darwish. So that was a very interesting day last week. But he's definitely feeling better, and I think every single time I talk to him, there's like not a moment in our conversations where he does not talk about missing lacrosse and wanting to come back. I mean, it is a fun sport. It looks like a fun sport, and he really enjoys it. So
Yeah, well, that's good to hear. Some of the newcomers that are coming in, these are all freshmen. You have Shea Ames, Logan Blunt, Jeff Bain, Jesse Rose, Rob Ted, and Joe Tim. So we'll be definitely looking at them to fill some of the shoes of some of the players we lost. We mean that figuratively. They're not going to actually fill the shoes. We don't transfer shoes over to a next year like that. We probably will have new shoes for them, but that's beside the point. So now as we go into some of the storylines of the season, one of the main ones is that the preseason polls are already out for our Wildcats. We're going to touch on the other sports, but men's lacrosse is coming in at third in the conference. So that means that they already have them in as playoff teams already, so that's good to hear. But we obviously want to take that number one spot back and keep that in Casanovia's possession. So the other big question is this the year? Is this the year for them to finally take that leap and win NEACs? Because I know personally I'm good friends with a lot of them on the team, and they, just listening to them talk, they feel like this is their year. So they definitely have that hunger we said from last year. So look out for our men's lacrosse Wildcats this season. Some other storylines we want to touch on is, can our captains lead us to prominence? Can they fully be in control? So what do you think about that, Kev?
who is our captains?
For lacrosse, I believe it is Casey Daly, Chris Hoover, Brandon Maxson, and
Kyle Kingsley.
Kyle
I know
Kingsley.
that one. They definitely can. Those some. Yeah, I think they can do it. They have that drive. I know Kyle Kingsley is a senior this year, which I think you're going to touch on later. So definitely that drive is there. They have wonderful captains who have been playing lacrosse for who knows how many years, especially with Kaz for 3 to 4 years, some of those people that you named.
Yeah.
So they definitely do have the drive, they have the experience, and as long as that good communication and execution comes in, then it's all in their favor.
Well, it's good to hear. We're hoping that they can definitely take that step. The other big storyline I want to touch on is Alex Delavan. He is our goalie. He was here last year and played very well, played terrific for our Wildcats. But is this the year that he can upend the top goalies in the conference and take over as the best goalkeeper in NEACs? Have you heard anything from Mr. Delavan about this topic?
No, I have not. I have not touched on that. I mean, in a way, I guess it sort of is like a secret rolling around. I mean, they seem to be doing fine in practice. They've been enjoying it, trying the hardest to better themselves. But you know, they're gonna do what they do. I think Delavan, he definitely has it in him to be an amazing goalie. And I think knowing him personally, like his personality, the goalie definitely plays a crucial role at setting the tone of all these games. I mean, our captains are definitely there to do what they do, but the goalie is like the secretary of the building. Everybody thinks the secretary doesn't do much except for like sit there, file paperwork. So I'm pretty sure people just think the goalie just sits there and catches the balls, but they are definitely a big point in directing sort of what goes on the field and setting that tone and keeping that tone up so that they can win games. So
Yeah.
Delavan can definitely do it.
Okay. So, yeah, you heard it here first. We might be getting some breaking news about Mr. Delavan. Kevin said it's kind of a secret, but we all feel like at the Wildcats that he is destined to be that top goalie. We just hope that it comes sooner rather than later. So now, we already touched on the offensive side of the ball with Max and Kingsley and Hanover. They were dominant last year, to be completely honest, and we're hoping they can keep and continue that this year and also be dominant. But the main talk is the defensive unit. of Brady Mitchell, Chris Hoover, Casey Daly, and Louis Ingracia. We're hoping that they can really step up this year and take that next step to be the dominant defense that they can be. So all these things we're kind of talking about, these are storylines that we want you guys as fans to really look out for, because if you're fans of men's lacrosse and they start winning, you want to hop on that bandwagon and keep us rolling. So to talk about their early season, they played a couple scrimmages against OCC and Herkimer. OCC, they were kind of the tale of two games, because OCC, they're always top in the nation. They've won the championship the past couple years. Herkimer is the other side of it. They've struggled as of late. So we definitely got showing against the best and the worst, and we played steady. We played our game, and we didn't come out so hot against OCC, but we did against Herkimer. So two good showings. Really showed that our team is ready to play this year. So starting off their season, they play a couple games at Clearwater, Florida. So if we have any fans, I don't know if the radio station reaches all the way down to Florida, but if it does and you guys want to come out to some of the games, here's your opportunity. Or if you want to take a quick vacation down to Florida and watch our lacrosse team play, you can always do that. I don't think Kevin or I are planning on going down to Florida. I wish, but...
No, I will not be in Florida. I'm pretty sure it'll be nice and sunny and probably great to see our wonderful Wildcats play, but I will be taking a vacation from the Wildcats for a little bit.
Yeah, I think we're getting to the point where we've talked about Wildcats for weeks now, and we want to think of another team name besides the Wildcats. Seems like we're saying that in our sleep now.
Team Sleep, Team Eat. What are some other good team? Maybe watch actual television. Team do whatever we want, sort of. So,
yeah, that's a week off that we deserve here at the Roar. So as we look at some of their key games that are coming up on the season, they start off right after they travel to spring break. I don't know if we touched on it, but they're playing Marymount and Clark on that spring break trip. But when they come back, one of their first games back in New York is at Elmira College. This is a rematch of last year. Elmira came out in the winning end last year. I think it was a 1-point difference. So Casnovia is looking to have a rematch and really take it to the Elmira College team, because there's revenge on the line, and revenge is always in our favor. So after that game, though, we play at Keuka, which was a playoff team last year. I think they came in second. So that game will be down in Keuka. They played there. It had been my freshman year, so actually both of our freshman years, a couple years ago. So they're looking to go back down there and play at Keuka and get a nice win on the road. Then they play Morrisville home. This is the Route 20 rivalry. Once we start getting close to that April 20th date, we're going to really start previewing this game, because this has a lot of importance, especially when it comes time for playoffs, because Morrisville is the preseason ranked 1, we're 3, so you know it's going to be a battle. And they really want to take it to them because of that 11-1 game last year. They really want to come through and win this one at home in front of our faithful. So mark that date on your calendars, folks. It is April 20th. Definitely come out and support your Wildcats on that day. We want Christakos Field to be packed and lined with blue and yellow. So if you have any gear, make sure to wear it on that day. And also, on the 23rd, they play at Hilbert, which is another playoff team. So that's going to be another game. We like seeing these playoff team matchups on their schedule, because that shows that we really want to win these games. And I'm sure that the guys have been circling those dates. And finally, it's home against Bryn Athen, which is an improved team from last year. This is the last game of the season for them. This will be their senior night. So these are all good games that you really want to come out for. If you like watching lacrosse and you like watching all things Wildcats, these are the games to go to. So Kevin, do you have any final thoughts about our men's lacrosse team?
No, I'm really excited to see them step on the field and start their season. because it is a fun sport to watch. I've been going up to the field for the past 3 years. It would be this season, going up and watching our men's lacrosse team play because I know a lot of the players. So it's going to be a lot of fun to watch them do their thing on the field and see their improvements. I know that through talking to a lot of the upperclassmen on the team, they're really excited about the freshmen. More excited this year than I feel for like last year's freshmen. They're very excited for them and to see what they do on the field. So it's looking to be a good season.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good one. We're hoping that, like Kevin said, that these freshmen come right in and make a statement and become the future stars of our Wildcats team, far beyond when both myself and Kevin graduate. So now we're gonna have a quick break before we get into women's lacrosse. Because they have a very terrific season lined up for them, and we want to give them proper attention. So now on to women's lacrosse after the break.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I am Kevin, your second host, and now we are going to touch on women's lacrosse. First things first, last season they played a tremendous season for themselves, I must say. Total goals hit by Casanova throughout their whole entire season. Last season was 173 goals, while their opponents only scored 149. They had quite a few turnovers last season. Majority of them actually occurred in the second half of the games. But overall, Casanova College had 277 turnovers, while their opponents only had 242. Goals scored per game was about 11.53%, while their opponents would usually only score about 9.93%. Overall, they ended the season 7-8. In conference, they went 5-4, and in non-conference, they went 2-4. So, what do you think about what I just said, Pat?
Well, I think this season is going to be crucial for them because not making playoffs last year, they bring back a lot of their talent off last year's team, and I think this might be the year that we finally take that next step and get into playoffs. I know talking to some of our women's lacrosse players, they're already hyped for the season. So.
Yeah, definitely. And like you said, they were just shy. A lot of our sports team, I've noticed, are always just shy. They're either one game or like 2 game away from playoffs. And last season, definitely our women's lacrosse team was about 1 or 2 games shy of making it. But last season, definitely want to commend the whole entire team as a whole. But we definitely want to highlight Miss Caitlin Shepard, who led the team with 32 goals with 38 assists and came to a total of 70 points for her season, followed by Miss Abby Webster, who scored 27 goals with 12 assists, equaling 39 points. Mackenzie Brissett, who scored 23 goals with 18 assists, coming to a total of 41 points. And Miss Deja Warrants, who scored 22 goals with 1 assist, having a total of 23 points. That's remarkable. Caitlin Shepard, she's out of this world when it comes to her stats. What can you say about that? Because you look at the point distribution, Kate is up there in the 70s, and everybody else trickers into like the 30s. Like nobody, like they're just like double less of what she sort of accomplished.
Yeah, one of the main things she really led on was shots on goal with 61, and also with having that 32 goals with 38 assists. That's pretty crucial for our team because she really makes our offense go. So when she's not on, it's hard for our team to get points on the board. But when she's on fire, other teams better look out because when she's dialed in, she can let some rip.
Oh yeah, she's definitely a force to be reckoned with, and I'm pretty sure the aura that she lets off when she's on the field or even in practice and around her teammates is probably amazing. It's probably like a bunch of sunlight when it comes from her because of her momentum and her thinking style. And I know she's always looking positive to beat the next team in their way. But like you said, when it comes to our wonderful Wildcats, we lost a couple of players. Alexandra Welch and Heather Ballantyne actually both graduated. They were seniors last year, so they will not be returning. And Miss Tracy Johnson transferred out, so she will not be part of our Wildcat this year. So they didn't lose as many players, but a couple of new players that they have is three freshmen: Haley Roger, Gianna Dixie, and Emily Goodman. So they'll be coming in. So it's about an even match when it comes to players that have gone and new players that are coming in. So
Yeah, that's really important to be able to recruit as well as we do here at CAS. When you lose players, the goal is to get the same or maybe more. You never want to get less because that's just losing a player into your machine. And I think bringing back the amount of people that you lose is always important, no matter what sport. So congrats on that.
yeah, definitely, because when you go down, you end up having like open pockets and open holes, and it also doesn't allow you to substitute in. And I know in lacrosse they do a lot of substitution throughout their games, especially when they're going toe to toe with their opponent. So good amount of students have come in. Also, last season, shots on goals were out of this world. Now, what I learned the other night looking up this information is that shots on goal has to hit in the vicinity of the goal that is directed at the goalie. So, as long as it's in the vicinity, it counts as a shot on goal. And of course, who led that was Miss Caitlin Shepard with 61 shots on goal, followed by Abby Webster with 47, Mackenzie Brissett with 39, and Deja Warrens with 36. So once again, there goes Caitlin Shepard at the top.
Yeah, and then when you talk about shots on goal, the reason why this is so much different than any other sport is that with say like basketball or soccer, any shot that's directly at that is generally considered a shot on goal, even though it's not counted as that. Where lacrosse, if you're even just an inch outside of the net, of the frame of the net, and the goalie has to move outside to make the save, that's technically not a shot on goal. So that's why that is interesting that you bring that up. So that means how many times she actually just aims and fires right at the goalie, and the goalie has to make a save, or else that's going in the net.
Oh yeah, and I mean I feel like probably when goalies see Kate coming after they're like used to her being on the field for however long she is, I feel like they start to probably get scared. Cause I feel like when you look at these shots on goal, that's 61 shots on goal, which means there was 61 times she was in a goalie's face, like about to like rip it through the goal. So definitely, she definitely is a force to be reckoned with and somebody to look out for. So this past weekend, our wonderful women's lacrosse team played King's College on Saturday. Unfortunately, at that game, they lost 9-11, but a lot of them came back still very positive and happy, and saying that it was a good game. So it wasn't like a blowout game, but it was a good matchup. I would say probably to start off the season. To start off actually our season, Miss Mackenzie Brissett scored the first goal of our season, followed by assists with Caitlin Shepard. Other shooters for the day came from Patricia Breen, Lindsay Frederick, Deja Warren, and Caitlin Shepard herself. Caitlin actually assisted on 5 of the goals this past weekend. So it looked like I wasn't there. That was a away game. So it looked like Caitlin was probably all over the place.
Yeah, and just starting off her season with 1 goal and 5 assists. We talked about points a little bit in terms of the men's lacrosse. It's the same for women's lacrosse. I'm pretty sure how they do it is a goal is 1 point, a goal is 2 maybe, an assist is 1. It's some equation like that. But anything that they do, either goals or assists, all tie into that points lead. So
Yeah, definitely.
so that's a good game to start off with 5, 6, 7 points to start off the season with.
Oh yeah, that's definitely something to get the drive going, especially as they start to transition this week, going into spring break, in which our wonderful women's lacrosse team will be going down to South Carolina, where they will be playing 2 games. One on March 8th, which is a Tuesday, against Muhlenberg College, and then a second game on March the 10th, which is a Thursday, against Elms College. So they're only playing 2 games this upcoming spring break, but I'm pretty sure they're going to enjoy it. It's going to be warm. It's warm here at CAS, which is weird, but it's definitely probably warmer, much more sunnier down there. Real quick, this is WITC 88.9, Casanova College in Casanova, New York.
Yep, that is our home network. So anytime you're listening to the Roar, that is WITC 88.9. We give them props for letting us come on their airways for an hour and a half every Tuesday and letting us do our thing. So thank you again to them.
Oh, yeah, so before we go on break, Pat, I just want to touch on this year they have 4 seniors which will be ultimately leaving in May and graduating with their wonderful degrees. Miss Hannah Delaware, which is player number 13, Erin Sweeney, who is player number 22, Miss Abby Webster, player number 20, and Miss Deja Warren, player number 11. And I know looking back at some of these stats, these names that popped up quite a bit was Miss Deja Warren and Abby Webster. So they're already starting off pretty hot. So you think the senior year, that senior, I don't want to say itis, but that senior drive of as in this is the last hoorah, you think that's going to really play a big part in this season, Pat?
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely. Because when they realize that this is their last go around, they're going to be automatically geared up and ready to play every game because they might not ever get to face this team again. So they're ready, and they'll probably be ready for every single game. I mean, let's face it, this is their farewell tour. I know Kobe's had one, and people like that have had one. I think Derek Jeter was the other main one. But this is their farewell tour. So everywhere they go, they want to give it their all because this is their last shot.
Oh, yeah, definitely. So big shout outs to our seniors this year, and we'll definitely be looking out for you guys stepping on the field, playing your last one-time games against some of these rivalries. So we're going to go into a quick break, and when we come back, we will be talking about baseball. Stay tuned. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Now we're going to discuss about our wonderful Wildcat baseball players in this segment. So there's going to be a lot of names thrown around, so hopefully you guys can keep up, because I even had trouble coming up with all this information. So start off, last season, Mr. Dan Crozier led the baseball team with 4 home runs, followed by Mike McCarr, who hit 2 home runs for the season. Other home run hitters, it was Mr. Dan Hodney, Dan Colburn, Taylor Inc., and Chris Shad. And they all each had 1 home run for the season. RBIs was led by Dan Crozier with 26 RBIs, Brent Baker with 21, Dan Colburn with 18, Dan Hodney and Jack Young closed out with 13 RBIs. Overall, our Wildcats last season had ended the season with 12-20-1. They won 12 games, lost 20, and tied 1. In conference, they went 5-9, and in non-conference, they had 7 wins, 11 losses, and 1 tied game. You know, this is a very big team.
Yeah. Well, before Kevin told me how many players there were, I was like, man, that's because typical lacrosse and other teams like that we're talking about are a little bit smaller, below 20. But
I think our equestrian team is probably our biggest sports team, followed by baseball. Point. And I want to say that because when you look at the photos in our gym in Sinead White Athletics Center, it's everybody on the whole entire team. Everybody's there and takes that photo. And I know this year, speaking of some of the players, they have 31 total for baseball.
Wow.
So there's going to be a lot of stats and a lot of names to be thrown around.
Yeah, so if you're at home and you have a checklist and want to check off the names that we say, you better get a fine-tuned pen because we're going to be rapid fire through them. So if you want to keep listening, you can start checking off.
Yeah, Dan Hodney, who graduated last season, name popped up quite a bit when it came to home runs and RBIs and making things happen on our wonderful baseball team. And Chris Rashad, he graduated, but he was also another player that made some wonderful plays that season. He had the 1 home run, and if I'm correct, he pitched quite a few good innings when I've attended. So, Pat, in your 3 years of being at Cass, have you ever attended a baseball game?
Unfortunately, no, because it's hard for people on campus, because one of the things that we are lacking on our campus is a baseball and softball field. So most of the time when they have games, it's usually a nice hike to get there. But I know a lot of people that I talk to love going to Cavs baseball games. So they definitely have good turnouts, but just not me in the audience. So I apologize, first of all, to all you baseball players out there that I don't attend. But maybe this season will be the season that I come out and watch you guys.
Oh yeah, definitely. You have to at least stop by and see one game for a couple of minutes. I've been going for 3 years now consecutively. One of the names that we dropped today, Mr. Taylor Inc., is actually my roommate from freshman year. So I've been to a lot of his baseball games, and then over the years I've gotten to know all the team members. So it's definitely is always a good game. The double headers is sometimes a lot to take in. 'Cause those are two very long games. But I usually definitely try and stay for one, and it's always good. It's actually really exciting to watch it. I don't know if it's because it's like more live and I'm present there and I'm not like watching on the camera. But their games always usually have good turnouts. They always start off strong. But what I'm looking forward to this season is just like all of our other sports teams that we have talked about is their execution when it comes to their games. I've been to a lot of their games where they've been up pretty well or they've been like close neck and neck with the following team or their opponents and they like just come up short in like maybe like the last 2 to 3 innings. So I mean our baseball team is very good. They have the talent and the ability, but I think one of their struggles is execution in the end. So, like I said, this is a very big team. But this year's seniors for our baseball team is Mr. Mike McCarr, Dan Colburn, Josh Allen, Hunter Lucy, Kevin Fitzgerald, Casey McLaren, Eric Olson, Matt Sheridan, Matt Cater, and Austin Mateo. That's a pretty long list of seniors.
Did you guys get all that at home? If you're going through that checklist, you might want to start working overtime.
Yeah.
That's all of our seniors.
Yes, that's all of our seniors. They are definitely the biggest team, and when they're gone, they're gonna have a big gap. But I know this year we have quite a few freshmen, a nice handful. Unfortunately, I haven't got all their names yet because not everything is uploaded with their names matching their faces. But we have quite a few freshmen coming in and talking to a lot of the baseball players. They, just like our lacrosse players, are really excited about the freshmen that came in. I guess the freshmen this year are bringing like new energy, a new vibe, and definitely new talent to come in. And I think that's probably really exciting always in the beginning of the season to get people that are fresh and see what they are going to bring to the field. So.
Oh yeah, definitely to have that new and eager to learn. They're ready to learn how Casanova baseball is all about. When you have those faces around, you're going to be jazzed up. You're going to be ready to play because the seniors, they want to prove that they're seniors, prove that they belong on the team, and same with other upperclassmen. Then you have freshmen that prove that they are as good as they were recruited as. They're as good as they were in high school. They're ready to play, ready to take the next leap and replace our seniors. So.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, we have 10 seniors that are leaving this year on our baseball team, and this is their last farewell tour, as we were announcing for our other seniors and our other sports team leaving. This is their last farewell tour, and our freshmen are just getting started. So I'm pretty sure our seniors are going to want to put on a good show every single time they step on the field. But you definitely are going to have those freshmen in the back that are going to be, nagging to make themselves known put in their fair share of work.
Yeah, well, the thing you gotta be thinking about is they're all fighting for for playing time. I mean, because you only have 9 people that can play at a time. It's very limited in that regard. So these freshmen are eager, like you said, they're nagging. They're also nagging with trying to get playing time.
Mm-hmm, yeah, and it's the positive nagging. I think that's a good thing.
Oh yeah, definitely, because you want to have that. You want to have those seniors that are like, "You're not taking my spot," or freshmen that want to say, "Well, yes, I am," and then you get the fight. A good sort of fight.
Yeah, it brings out the good in them. That's what it'll hopefully do. So this upcoming spring break season, while me and Pat are sitting down somewhere, probably catching up, hanging out with Team Sleep and Team Food and stuff, our wonderful baseball players will be heading down to Florida, playing nothing but double headers. They will be facing off against Medal College on March 6th, followed by the next day another doubleheader with Juniana College, which will be on March 7th, followed by the next day another doubleheader against Penn State Altoon on March 8th. So that's three days back-to-back with doubleheaders for our baseball players. And then they get a 2-day break in which they would come back and play a doubleheader against Cairn University on March 10th, and then their last game before they come on back up here to good old Casanova will be against King's College on March the 11th. So they definitely have a lot of work to do down in Florida. They won't be able to like hang out and sleep probably as much as we will.
That's one thing we have on top of most of these athletes is we get to go home and rest the whole break. I'm looking definitely forward to that. But I would love to be taking one of these trips with them because they're going to lovely Florida and playing baseball. So, like we said earlier with the men's lacrosse team, if we have any fans that are down there that are taking a trip anyways, you might want to stop over and watch your favorite baseball team play some terrific games down there. So, yeah.
So I have one last question for you, Pat. So when the other day checked out some information, and for preseason, our Wildcat baseball players are ranked at number 5.
Yeah.
Do you think they'll be number 5, or if not top number 5 this year?
Well, it's actually talking to one Ryan Meyer, who's on the baseball team. He's their third baseman, and he was saying that 5th is just one spot out of playoffs, and they actually finished in 5th last year. So of course they're going to see that 5th ranking, and they're going to be all fired up and ready to push into that playoffs because they're so close. They're right on the doorstep. Now they just have to open the door and go on in. And I think this year might be the year that the playoffs might let our Casanova College in.
Oh yeah, and they also have Mr. Nate Dietz coming back. Last season he injured himself, so he could not play, unfortunately. And I know a lot of players were like, "Oh, we wish like Nate was here playing," because he brings a certain aura and he brings that skill to the team. So definitely looking forward to seeing all of our players this year. I don't think we have anybody on the injury list, so everything.
I don't think so.
The green is good to go.
Yep.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick break in which Pat will, when we come back, we'll be talking about our softball team. So stay tuned.
Welcome back. Thank you, Kevin, for taking the mic, giving me a break. So now we're going to talk about softball. They finished up last season with a 10-20 record and 7-13 conference record overall. They unfortunately did not make the playoffs, but on a high note, they ended their season with a 3-game sweep of rival Morrisville. So that's a heck of a way to finish a season off, is to play your rival and get a 3-game sweep of them. So now as we look at some of the team leaders, we're going to throw out some names of statistics. We'll kind of explain them as we go along, just so you guys that don't know baseball and softball can learn a little bit. And Kevin also said he wants to learn a little bit too. So first, we're going to talk about batting. We have, first of all, Brianna Turner, who's another RA on this campus. She had a .458 average hitting, and she had 27 hits and a .559 slugging percentage. Slugging percentage given is any extra base hit, any home runs, RBIs, all that gets figured into a percentage. So it's basically how you do when there's a scoring opportunity on the base path for them. And Kelsey Schutte had a .382 average, 39 hits, and a .647 slugging percentage. And Taylor had a .602 average, batting over 500. That's very good for us, and 30 hits and a .602 slugging percentage. So now as we look at some of the pitching, Kelsey Schutte was also our most dominant pitcher. She went 6-5 with a 5.48 ERA. That's earned run average. That's how many runs were tallied to her while she was pitching, and she had one shutout on the season. Stephanie Williams went 3-9 with a 10.94 ERA. So, Kev, you said you made out to a lot of baseball games. Did you go to a lot of softball games as well?
No, actually, they are at this point the only team whose sporting events I have not attended yet. It's just softball, and sort of like what you said last time. It's not having the field close by, and I know a lot of times when they would play, it was sort of, I think, sometimes be on the same day that the guys would play. And like last year, I remember running through my schedule last year. I had multiple days where I would go from a men's lacrosse game to a women's lacrosse game to either a baseball game on multiple occasions. That's 3 sporting games in one day.
Wow.
And that's just on a Sunday.
And now you're a host of The Roar talking about athletics. So You're definitely taking the right career path there, Kev. You
I-
might be a sport management major in the making.
Or just like really deep in the background, and I just don't know it because this had nothing to do with criminal justice and homeland security. But hey, if like the FBI or something ever needs me to go to a baseball game,
Yep.
I guess I'm sort of set and I can talk my way through everything.
Well, see, that's the thing with sports. Sports is such an encompassing topic that literally anything that you want to do, I mean, it's got its footprint in anything. So now as we look at some of the players that they lost, Allie Smith, she was our only graduate. We had a couple people not return for their senior or junior year. So that'd be Stephanie Williams, Bree Turner, Lauren G., Lindsay Wilkley, and Kelly Shepardson. You lost all these players. And now to fill those spots, we have some newcomers coming in. These are all freshmen. Kelsey Morgan, Alyssa Pett, Alex Kinnell, Lauren Medikovich, Sam Washburn, Jessica Keller, and Amanda Brand. They're going to be all stepping in to try and take the place of the people we lost and take their positions. So now it's...
Like you said, Pat, it's better when you're recruiting people to get either that same amount that you lost or get more, and that's exactly what they did. Unfortunately, our softball team will not be getting 6 of their players, but instead their newcomers, they have 7 total. So they went +1 in that direction.
Yeah, that's really good. That means that they're doing something right in recruiting, and that's always important, especially at the D3 level. So now as we look at some of the storylines, they are preseason ranked 8th in the NEAC, so not exactly where we want to be, but it's definitely a spot that we can grow from and make that ranking go down and get it back into playoffs. And the main question is this the year for playoffs? Kevin, I know you said that you don't go out to many of them, but do you think, just with going off what I've talked about already, do you think that they could contend for playoffs this year?
Yes and no. I'm going to say yes and no on this one. I have not, unfortunately, been to a lot of their games, so I don't know how they are dynamically as a team on the field. But I'm going to say yes because they have 7 new players compared to the 6 that they lost. So they have 7 new faces, 7 fresh people stepping in on top of the number of players that they already have there, the veterans that are already established in that team. So I think that's going to play a big role. I'm going to slightly say no a little bit for the simple fact that a lot of the players that they lost are still current students on campus who will not be returning. So, and I think that sort of will play, that will sort of have an impact on it. But anything possible when it comes to sports, whether it's Division III or you're looking at the pros sitting at the Super Bowl. Anything is possible. So they might just go all the way to number 1.
Yeah. I mean, we could bring in these freshmen that are top tier athletes. They're coming in. They're the best players to play their position that Cavs ever seen. I mean, we just don't know. With that many new fresh faces, like you said, it's going to be tough to try to predict what's going to happen this year when there's so many new faces.
All right. Those stats are definitely going to play like a big role.
So once that starts going, we'll inform you how they're doing as they go along. But they start out playing in the Fast Pitch Dream Spring Classic. This was the only one we could find an actual title for where they're playing. Most of them are just, you come and play at a certain place. But this is an actual tournament that they get set up every year. And it's located in North Myrtle Beach, so it's going to be nice and sunny down there.
Myrtle Beach!
And they play 8 games in 5 days. We're just going to run through these real quick. New Jersey City University and Mount Aloysius College. They play both on the 6th. Anne Marie College at SUNY Canton on the 7th. Summit University of Pennsylvania on the 8th. King's College and Regis College on the 9th. And Gwynedd Mercy University on the 10th. Now, one thing I thought was kind of interesting about this is it seems like the way they set this up was we are playing the team that had a worse off record early in the day and the more competitive game in the afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, Kev, do you think that'll play into anything? Will that play a role, I guess, in that?
Yes, because it's like a warm up. Like you said, they have like a little bit of the easier games in the beginning, and the harder ones later on. So I mean, it's a warm up. Um, if they go into those a little bit easier game and they're like winning, that's definitely gonna boost the team's mindset and their
Confidence.
mood when going into these bigger challenges.
Oh
And
yeah.
I'm pretty sure they're not going to look to that next team. They're going to try and deal with business, which is right in front of them, hopefully, and get them out the way and then go on and move on. So I think that's definitely a good. It's like a psych move basically. Everything sports doesn't always have to do with like your muscles and your size and stuff. Some of it is also the psychological part of it too, which I think that layout is doing.
Yeah. So now we pretty much touched on softball. We hope we give them all the credit in the world for the future. We hope those freshmen can really make a part of Cavs history. So now we're going to get to the part of the show where we do this every week. It's Kevin's 30 seconds of airtime where he gets to talk about anything non-sport related. So here's Kevin.
Yo, fun thing that I did today actually in class is I played musical chairs in class.
What class was that?
Models of Society.
Oh, okay.
It was to represent. We had eight students standing up. We had 6 chairs, and we had 2 students standing on the far side of the classroom. And when we played, it was supposed to represent the job. What is the correct word? People's chances of getting jobs. It's sort of like unemployment.
Oh, okay.
Chances. But it was so much fun. You know what I like about college is the fact that a lot of things I did in like daycare and kindergarten, I'm allowed to do it here. So the fact that I got to play musical chairs in class was so much fun. Unfortunately, I wasn't a DJ, so the music was okay. But you know, I got to play musical chairs in class.
That's pretty
And
cool.
That speaks volumes to education. I really like that. I enjoyed it. It kept me awake in
Yeah.
class.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, we like playing those games.
We should have musical chairs in class more often. Maybe.
Oh yeah, definitely. Every class should at least have one day set aside for musical chairs. I used to dominate in musical chairs back in the day. But so now we get to the point where we kind of wrap things up. We want to thank all of our listeners today for making us a part of your afternoon. Oh, back to Kevin real quick.
So I have a question for you, Pat. Then, since we just preseason our spring and what's coming up, is there any team that you are in particularly looking forward to watch play and see them do their thing on the field?
For me, I would say softball. I know it's just the one we just got talking about, but just having that many fresh faces and just you know that all they can go is up from here. So they're kind of in the process of rebuilding, kind of not, but this is going to be a quick rebuild. I'm just excited to be able to go and work and watch, sometimes work, some of their games because they're ready to take that next step. The other teams are right on that doorstep. They've been in playoffs before, but softball, their preseason's not where they want to, so they have all the upside to possibly happen. So they definitely would be my pick.
Yeah, definitely. They're more like the underdog, sort of going into this season. But like I said, anything's possible. So
Yeah.
hopefully it's a good season.
Yeah. Well, definitely for all of them. So, like I said, we're gonna have a poll going up on our Twitter page, probably either today or tomorrow, where we can set aside a spot for each one of these teams we talked about today, and you, listeners, or anyone that's following us on the Twitter page, can go on and vote for who you think is going to have the best season out of the 4, and based off what we've already talked about today. And we also will use the Twitter as a way to preview some next shows and kind of give hints at what we're talking about for the next week. And you can also give us hints into what you want to hear on the air, or also what songs you want to hear. So if you can't view us live right now, we do have it on the TuneIn app where you can go and listen anytime. So if you don't have a radio nearby, you can always go on there. And we're also going to be as a podcast on the YouTube page for Casanova Athletics. That would probably be up most likely over spring break. So if you're at home and want to listen to what we talked about the past week, you can still do that and still get all things Wildcat. So we want to finish up by saying we want to say good luck to all of our teams
Yes, good luck.
over spring break. We're really rooting for you guys. We want to hear about all the great stories and all the great wins. We don't want to see any losses, anything in the loss columns after spring break, so we want definitely wins.
Most importantly, have fun while you're down there. It's going to be warm weather. The sun's going to be out. The wind's probably going to be blowing in all their hair.
Yeah.
Or whatever. So definitely have fun while you guys is playing for that competition.
Yeah. Enjoy.